Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. Back in the park, you know what we're doing. Censorship. What is it? Why do we do it? How does it apply? And most specifically, how do we spell it? Censorship with a C is inanimate objects. Censorship with an S is sentient objects. Like me. And so what we're doing, just working through our derivation, pointing out empirical truth about language. We've already demonstrated the consistency of language, so we can draw physical identities from words itself. How does equilibrium relate to oscillation? So now when we think of the word equilibrium, again, everything has a temperature, so everything is moving. If you interact with something, if you measure it, you're going to perturb it, you're going to poke it, you're going to change its state of momentum, you're going to change its inertia. And so equilibrium is not a state of stasis or of stagnation, but of stabilized dynamic, of flow. The thing I like to think of, whether it's the universal scale or something local, is just a lava lamp. If you have a blob, I made a comment on one of my short videos, but if you just have a blob in a lava lamp and it's just kind of meandering around, that's kind of what the universe is doing and what local systems are doing. Again, we have a good intuitive basis for what a local system is, or a tornado or a hurricane, where you have a pressure gradient, but the eye of the storm does not interact with the storm itself. So that is a local system, where even spatially you have a section technically within the tornado or the hurricane, but it does not interact with the pressure itself. And so equilibrium, right, is balance. Equilibrium is stable. And so your electron, your quark bounding, those are stabilized dynamics. That's why quarks always come in three, because we're in three dimensions. The relevant relevant dimensionality is 3. And so when you're in a state of equilibrium, you're going to have some sort of oscillation. Right? What is the difference between oscillation and vibration? Right? Different words, different physical processes. Off the top of my head, right, if you oscillate, you go back and forth. If you vibrate, you go back and forth. But I've for whatever reason, paired oscillation to equilibrium. But what is the difference between oscillation and vibration? Tranquility is peacefulness. Peacefulness is calm, right? There's a phrase, peace of mind, which I would say is the most valuable thing in the world. But it is really true. Like if you look at the Buddha over history, specifically to Buddha, it's somebody that doesn't have to respect anybody else. If they've reached a place of serenity where they've contributed enough to the world, where they don't have to seek respect from somebody else. And so anything you can tell by someone who's reached nirvana or enlightenment or any of these things is an extreme sense of calmness. And it just is. It's extremely consistent and uniform for anybody that has achieved that. Speciality restricts, sensorality expands. Exposure expands, right? Specifically to anything that's derogatory or condescension, or putting another group of people down, right? We don't like the Muslims or the Christians or the Jews or who the fuck ever. And then you go and be around them on a personal level, not just interact with the stigma or the stereotypes, and they're just people too, for the good and the bad. Meaning, if you have, I'm trying to use an example that's not relevant to anything, or not anything, but relevant to me, so you don't think I'm making a personal statement. Right? I'm neither, again, we'll just use Kosovo and Serbia, right? Serbians all say Kosovo's theirs or whatever. But if you're just around the people, it doesn't really matter if you're Kosovo or Serbia. It just matters that you interact with a person on an individual level, and they'll be just like you. Again, good things and bad things. They're not going to be like all Serbians are great or all Serbians are bad. It's just going to be individuals. And so what our society is really progressing towards, and it's blatantly obvious, is all of these nationalisms and all of these isms and ists and groupings really kind of go away. You become stronger as an individual, and then you collectively become stronger as a group. But any sort of peace of mind is referencing this just state of extreme calmness and tranquility, from being okay with where you're at in life, being okay and understanding what's going on, not having unreasonable expectations. Sensorality is categoricality, right? Now here's when we defined amalgamated words. An amalgamated word is literally just words that are really just stuffed together. An integrated word is like informal, right? If and normal combined is informal. An amalgamated word is category. Look at that word, cat, the sound E represented by the letter E, which is not super standard in English, but any other, pretty much any other language, you say E, the sound E, it's and. And so you have cat and gory, right? It's literally an amalgamated word. So we've identified an amalgamated word, and now we've defined sensorality as that. Sensorality categorizes. What is the basis of mathematics? Thematics. What is a theme? A category. So we just connected a huge chunk of math there, but it literally is an amalgamated word. And so what we're doing when we're saying we're expanding our definitions is we're finding these words that aren't well defined and developing these natural definitions, right? What is fluency? Fluency is influential. And if you didn't see that one, influential literally spells out fluent with prefix and suffix. So words are naturally defined, and we're just connecting these natural definitions. But category is not well defined. Sensorality categorizes. What is the relationship of attention and concentration, right? If I have your attention, you're focused on me. If you're concentrated, is that the same as attention? What's the difference? What's similar? What's the same? What's different? Sensorality with a C is concentration. Sorality is centrationality. Soral, central. What is centrality? Right? Another poignant geometric proof of what we just did recently is that, again, a center does not have a well-defined opposite. And so now we're kind of reversing that. What is central? Central is the core of something, is a big operative word people use, relevant to 3 dimensions. Central is the middle of something. Centrality, middle. Centrality is in the middle. Centrality, bases, right? Your home base is your central HQ, your headquarters. So what is this centralization? What are we doing there? Centralization is concentration. Just expanding our logic. What's the relationship of switching and changing? Right, again, getting these really fundamental, why do I even use the word fundamental? These basic, these simple, these direct, these very, let's just say frequent, these very frequent words. Like if you're a kid, you're going to learn these words more readily than other words, I guess. Just we'll say more frequent is what I mean by fundamental. Or we just have everything to, that any word that I could think of that was relevant to change, right? We have switching, changing, alternating, iterating, variating, or variate, modify, adjust, customize. What are we getting at? What do we do with all these? Again, how do we categorize things? Again, if you have any exceptions to a category, we have 7 colors, and then we have 8 colors. Now we have 64 colors, and that's proliferation. That's speciation, right? And so what is, again, how do we apply numerical limits to how, again, it's 2. The only stabilized dynamics is 2, so it's 2. And 3 maps 3, but customizing changes. And so this is logically directional, and it's unique, right? Because customizing changes, right? There's no mutual exclusivity. If you customize something, you are changing it. But if you're changing something, that doesn't necessarily mean you're customizing it. So whatever all of these different words relating to change are or mean, we have a unique string, right, with the letter C. That's, again, because remember, we're iterating the actual letters. Customizing changes. All customization is a change, not all change is customization. Mathematics is derivative of linguistics, right? Before there was numbers or even letters, there was spoken word, there was expressions, there was interactions. And so all of our quantity comes from this categorization and division that is more general than numerics. And so how does thematicality relate to linguisticality? Again, now relating to letters that represent those concepts, but it's true, right? We have more letters than there are numbers. There's more true statements, logically true things you can say than you can prove. And so mathematics is derivative from linguistics. What is the relationship of theme, linguistics, and logic? Logic produces sense. Theme is how we make reductions. Linguistics is how you relate language to reality. So what's the relationship of linguistics, logic, and theme? Mathematics is derivative from logicality, right? Mathematics to me, mathematics is proof. So when I say the word mathematics, I mean proof. Anything that can be established as a definitive empirical fact. And so the space of logic, what I just said, is there's more true logically consistent statements than there are provable logically consistent statements. We've already proven that, really. But mathematics is derivative from both logic and from linguistics. And I would say linguistics is derivative from logic. You have something that makes sense intuitively, and then you put words to that. That is linguistics. So logic, then linguistics, then mathematics in terms of comprehensivity, in terms of range, which should be apparent, right? You don't have a poem written in letters or written in numbers. But again, poem, philosophy, all of that is just the range of statements that are logically consistent, that can be proven true. But now that I've demonstrated a complete proof, the concept of what is philosophy, it doesn't really matter. Anything that's articulated with language or with logic will demonstrate these numerical principles or these qualitative or quantitative properties. But those are some big reductions. Again, just structuring the comprehensivity of logic, language, and linguistics. I kind of use those interchangeably. But language is more comprehensive. Okay, then language and logic. Logic would still be more comprehensive than language because you can, you can intuitively, like there's a goose honking right now. I can tell it's upset or it wants to vocalize something. So that's still logical, right? It's still articulating something that I can understand. It's emotional state and it's not the same species, right? So logic even supersedes language right there. Like, see, that's why we're outside in the park. So we can draw direct empirical truths because it's fucking true. Sorry, kids, they can't hear me. But, so again, logic, language, linguistics, the difference between language and linguistics, formalizing sounds to letters being linguistics, and then mathematics being all of that logic, language, linguistics to numerics is what I would say is mathematical proofing, or at least identified as mathematics today. Because when I say mathematics, I mean proofing this whole entire process. And so, right, we have the word start. We've shown how like the steady states, the interesting things happens during the change of inertia, the change of something. So that's when you start, is when you begin. Start, startle, right? So now we have another word with a very clear base, and you can feel that logical connection, right? Surprising startles. Ontological shock, ontological startle, right? If you're not an extremely emotionally insecure person, just meaning underdeveloped, which all of you are, you wouldn't get shocked at anything, right? Nothing surprises people who have seen it all. And so it's like, just progressing the logic. But, all right, we're going to, the overall behavior of the species is going to moderate to something much more. Extremes, ups and downs aren't going to happen nearly as much. Again, everyone still has to grow up. You're still going to go through puberty, and 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years. Being a child is still going to be a thing. But our emotional development as a species is going to become more moderate, both good and bad. So that's really it for the logical derivation today. Again, on some of the other stuff we were talking about yesterday, because I really don't like to talk about the extraterrestrial alien stuff. One, because it's really not that relevant to me. I mean, I've been exposed to it since I've been a child, literally. And frankly, when I have direct interactions, which are pretty few and far between face-to-face, with whatever this, again, we're all connected. That stuff's all the time. Or basically, it's like a chat room. Like I can log in effectively whenever I want. Not going to go into more detail. That's for my mind and not yours. But again, I don't want to share my discovery with the world. Not entirely. This world's disgusting. But I do get the sense of ontological shock from other species that are sentient or intelligent or whatever you want to say. And so, like I told you the Bob Evans story, I'm not going to tell it again. I've told it 100 times. But there was certainly interactions where I got like little trinkets. There was one, there was just like it felt like cheap plastic. It was in this N polygon type of shape thing. And then an amber mosquito thing, literally just like out of Jurassic Park. But I just remember seeing the look in their eyes. And it was like, again, it's startling. It's shock. And in the same exact way I can see ontological shock happening to people, and I've experienced it from my family, friends, teachers, everybody I've been exposed to, it still happens with other species. And so when we talk about this concept or this process or this physical empirical reality that species censor things, right? What is the true difference between public and private is really going to go away. And so again, kind of addressing a couple groups here. To the random YouTuber, just follow along if you can. But when I have you guys, and to the random YouTuber, all of these situations that I reference, these are all documented. Whether it's, so I negotiated some truce, there's these pockets, right? It's like growing up. You think your parents kind of have control of everything and know everything, and then you grow up and you realize, holy fucking shit, no they don't. And so if you're waiting for some big moment of disclosure, not going to happen. All of the things that you need to know is already out there. But it's not like aliens are one big group of things. It's not like extraterrestrials. And again, I say extraterrestrials because there's our pockets where they're not that technologically advanced, and they're not that understanding. Because the biggest emphasis to me of this is when you guys walk past me at Grafton Park and you say, you know, why was all this intelligence wasted on a male, or you're like 6 years old, or and then he's probably more mature than all of us. I get this process of ontological shock. Now that's on a personal to personal level. Now on a personal to general level, I know definitively, axiomatically, censorship goes away. And what I mean is, right, I'm making a YouTube video. And if any person on this planet in the human species wants to interact with another human in a long-form educated structure, they're going to think of YouTube, right? So we have a scenario where private companies, by all means, are public entities, right? If you are in the public sentiment, if I think, what am I going to do to express myself? And I think YouTube, that is no longer private, right? Consciousness is collective. We're all learning how everybody else behaves. Behavior is moderating. And so when I get the ontological shock from non-humans, and then there's still censorship, because the very poignant quote was, they help us, in reference to these crash retrievals. And so from their perspective, it can be a practical thing. Whereas I don't think, to use fuck Eric Weinstein, but what does India do next if the North Sentinelese comes online? It's right, we talked about it a little bit last time, but from them, it's like, I think, frankly, I just think how rapidly I developed this. I don't think a species gets to logical completion as rapid as humans have, because I did it. But can't take me out of the equation for this stuff. But so I think again, it's something to do with the water. You have species that have some sort of property rights here. They're operating business, and then again, from their perspective, it's not collective in the sense that they all work together. There's one big alien group. It's just an extreme respect for life. And then if you're using resources and then a species comes online, you kind of have to like back off. And so we're kind of like in that process, but it's like, again, it's not perfect. And then when people say, you know, these species help them with the cover-ups, which again, this is to the average YouTuber, they have confirmed this to me. I knew this before they confirmed this to me, because I'm also still poking at them, seeing what they're going to disclose, because I know more than them. That's just straight up true. But it's not like, it's just like life. Like there's animals and species in the woods, like what the fuck? Because if I personally don't get to some big history textbook, which would be cool as shit, it doesn't really do anything to me. It's like going to the zoo. I love going to the zoo. I am a seasoned member. Do I get bored after it at about 2 to 3 hours? Yeah. Right, society is locally contained, right? We have local systems, contained systems. Society and culture is pretty contained. And so I'm a human being, all I want to do is trade stocks and interact with women. It's true. And so it's like, and then you guys think like aliens is this like big thing. It just isn't. But point being is the concept of censorship goes away. And so there's big jumps, which I would say from human to extraterrestrial, which is they're not that much more mature, and no species gets to a state of complete maturity. Everyone reproduces and has kids, and they have to grow up too. And so, but when I see having these pockets of groups help you guys with these crash retrievals, that's inefficient. I mean, it has nothing to do with right, wrong, good, bad. That is, you know, it's nothing personal, it's just business. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And so I kind of get from their perspective, not, again, why not show up on the White House lawn? Well, again, they already have. I mean, not the White House, but they have interactions. And so it's more, human beings are the dominant species here. There are pockets underground, certainly. There is some sort of cooperation, but I can absolutely definitively assess the maturity level of these actions. Public and private don't mean dick, right? Your behavior is not going to be hidden from anything or anyone in any meaningful capacity ever. And so when I see other species helping you with the cover-up, that's what I would say extra, where it's not, they don't see, it's all things considered, restriction of scientific disclosure right now today. And I'm talking my research, not saying here's an alien, here is how math works. And then you go to preschool all over this planet and we're teaching all the other Homo sapiens the wrong shit. That's what I'm talking about. Not, I don't care that you guys build a bunch of, fundamental science doesn't care that you build a bunch of underground bunkers and technology that sucks dick and you guys can't do this shit, because that's what human beings are. That's what life is. Sentience is a computer, right? With way more functionality. So my point is any non-human sentient species promoting censorship is still immature, and it's not efficient. It's not an emotional statement. It's not a moral statement. It's if it's just business, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And so, and I already knew that, guys, way before you guys confirmed a lot of these things to me. They walk among us, absolutely. And the level of cloaking, I don't know exactly what species I'm interacting with all of the time, but that's probably why I'm the negotiator, the contractor, the ambassador, because I'm not associated with these things. And then again, to the average YouTuber, they have different pockets where they train people to do these things. You've never heard of them. Again, the engineering applications of physics have been solved for decades. There's a certain material you need. I'm not sure which element it is, or if it's a configuration, but it's synthesized somewhere else, and it like just sustains the dynamic. So like when you have a turbine or a ball bearing, it just like the dissipation of energy that once it starts is so profoundly low, it's effectively locally stabilized. Just like an electron takes, however many years to degrade, quote unquote, mathematically or statistically. And so the biggest jump for Secret Science Club is all of the ones you're interacting with, like I've said, and I've made a whole video on this, is like gray derivatives, like small people. When we're at HQ Flats and I show you the map of the solar system, the ones that quote unquote come in light, well, again, there's variation to that. It's either, there's two kind of types where it's directly just like a hologram you see in the movies, where you just have a signal, you transmit that signal, and then the way it reconfigure that signal just uses the material and the local environment to reconstruct, and that's how it comes in the light. But now remember, light isn't the right word, it's radiation and it has momentum. So then you also have weakly bounded sentient structures, and those typically, most of them, again, our solar system's not that important. Like we're not, humans aren't the center of Earth, Earth isn't the center of the solar system, the sun isn't the center of the galaxy. It's humbling, right? It's just knowing your places. You're useful, but you're not all of that. Everybody, I mean, that's everything. It's me, you, it's everybody. And so then you have lightly bounded sentient structures from the gas giants, right? And so you can have momentum that is reconfigured just like a hologram in a movie, and you can also have sentient beings that it's just like where's the edge of a cloud, right? If you throw a ball through a cloud, did you break the whole cloud? And so you have these very weakly bounded sentient beings that can quote unquote come in the light, or just, again, the best analogy, it's not really an analogy, it's like throwing a baseball through a cloud. Did you break the cloud? No. And so it's just some sort of loosely bounded continuum, or loosely bounded system. So those are there, but most of any like folklore, again, there's a lot of truth to a lot of it, and most of the species you can find. But there was, again, confirmed to me, I knew before there's more than two, but confirmed to me again to the average YouTuber that there's been at least two with large scale structure and time spent on Earth. And the amount of visitors and location, I mean, that's anybody's guess. Because you can have cloakings where some look exactly like human beings, some can cloak like human beings, they can cloak like different technologies. The cloaking I can't follow because I don't even care to. Like if there's certain parts where if I don't get more data, there's nothing for me to do and it's not that relevant. In the same way, if I want to go watch a cool bird fly around in nature, if it flies away from me, what am I going to do? But overall, again, those again the breakdown of your species. Of the different species. I made a whole video of exactly what I could tell you. But again, it's the Earth coming online in this larger scale economy that's really why they help you crash retrieval, because censorship as a whole goes away. It really just does. So we talked about that. Again, there's more than two. That's just the ones that have large-scale interest or was here for a substantial period of time. In the same way, when you go on vacation, you're all happy and bubbly more so than the person that has to, run the resort. So the two differentiations you've either interacted with or know about are the people that are really relevant to Earth specifically. But everything that's relevant to Earth specifically is relevant to the solar system and its jumped planets. And so that's going on too. There's just so much, and it's just at a point where I don't comment on this stuff because I've said everything I could, and it's not relevant to what I'm doing, which is way more relevant than anything. Whatever goof, again, fundamental science does not care how much money or what you built in a mountain over in the Andes or what, again, these different facilities, it doesn't matter. But I just want to point out, I do get the ontological shock, like that whoa factor from non-humans as well. Someone's just screaming. But Again, we still don't have a studio, so who cares? And then when I say like, I've also been confirmed that a lot of them, like they have ambassadors. Like there's like 1 or 2 of them that will kind of like approach you. But again, like they're sentient, their species, their societies a lot more, they speak as individuals, but they speak like collectively too. And so their representation is a lot stronger. They're still speaking as individuals, but they're all on the same page, so to speak. Or most of them are. Again, you don't get to a complete maturity, right? There's always kids, there's always immaturity. You never get to complete, you're always different, I don't know. There's a person behind me screaming, how fun. You literally can't do scientific research in this world. But again, to the average YouTuber, I've had interactions like, again, where I'm clearly thinking, they're responding vocally, and it's either I'm dealing with a non-human, or I'm dealing with a human, or a non-human and humans are watching, or I'm dealing with a human that has the capacity, whether through technology or through training, to interact on this, I hate the word telepathy, but that kind of frequency. And so, and this is all recorded. So like I personally don't know if it's non-human or if it's human with training, or human observing non-human, or if it's technological. I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter. My point is any sort of censorship at this level is inefficient, and it's wrong by all intents and purposes. By all intended purposes. Right. Well, you can hear me, yes, in unison. What is going on? Literally, kids. Who cares? Kids, whenever you see this video, go do your homework, you stupid fucks. But, yeah, annoy the most productive member of our society. Does anybody out there actually raise their kids? I don't care. My whole life has been a waste. If you waste 1 more minute of my life, I don't get mad, I don't care. But like, can I ever actually do research? Do you guys actually ever raise your children? No. But then I've also again, you have big teeth, and that's the biggest differentiation from us. And again, what's the opposite of we, right? It's us versus them. What's the opposite of we? I don't know. But then they tell me to be nice, and it's like, I am being nice, I'm being efficient. That is what should be done. So again, I've covered pretty much everything I want to, but, and then they say he's just looking over his territory. Like I said, I'm the person that's proving shit. These fucking kids threw me off. But I didn't really have any much more to say. Like I said, I've already covered that stuff as much as I can. My biggest point is that I do get ontological shock from my presence. Because again, these people might have or sentients might have they might have a fancy car, but they didn't build it. I built the car, the whole fucking thing, multiple times. So there's big relevance to history. A whole bunch of noises going off right now. So we're just gonna call it here. Thanks for watching, see you on the next one.